12:03, so we'll go ahead and we can get started.
Bye.
All right. So what's that? Sorry.
Said bye, Gwen.
Bye.
So we'll start with Sho, because Sho's in the top right. So Sho, if you want to give a little bit of background about your just tell us a little bit about your AmpGuard career and how you got started, how you got here, all that good stuff.
I'm Sho. I've been in the Pacific Northwest my entire career, besides traveling, of course. I started in Shrouding Mist back in the 90s, and how I found AmpGuard was two of my friends, Vugosh, and one that is no longer playing, Razzo, showed up at my work one Saturday and said, tomorrow we're going to Sprinker. And I'm like, why do I need to go play baseball? You know, I'm good at baseball, but I don't want to play baseball right now. They're like, no, there's nerds hitting nerds. I'm like, well, I guess that's better than hitting each other with rattan anymore. You know, we weren't armored or anything like that. So we went out there and fell in love with it. That's the start of my career in AmpGuard, was getting two like pound per foot swords put in my hand that were probably 36 inches or more, and I started hitting people.
Nice. Cyric, you want to go next?
Okay, so I'm Cyric. I started in '98 in Ocean, and it was some buddies. I was in high school then. Some buddies then also don't play anymore, but basically came back to our gaming group and were like, hey, so we want to do this, but actually hit people. And then we were hooked. My first day out was meeting Squire Trevor, who, well, I am like 16 or 17 years old, and this scrawny little rail, he's like 6'3", head to toe chainmail with a giant two-handed sword, running around clubbing people, and that was hook, line, and sinker. Then so good.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
All right, Kalten, you want to go next or last?
Yeah, sure. I'm Kalten. I started playing around 1990, 91, somewhere around there, 92 maybe, in Colorado, Golden, Colorado. Had a buddy of mine show up, said, hey, I found this thing that you're really going to like. It was actually one of my brother's friends at the time, and he took me to the park, and a whole bunch of people beating the crap out of each other with sticks, and there it was. Hooked all ever since. And then I moved up here in I want to say 99-ish, I think, 2000, something like that, and I've been up here ever since. So I started up when I moved here, I was playing in IO, and then I moved down to Greenwood Key.
Nice.
You were here when I started in '98, because I remember all the Legacies crossover from then too.
Okay. Well, then 98.
Yeah.
So I just want to give a quick description kind of for everyone who's watching what this video is about. You'll notice that all three people on this stream are warlords, sword knights. But what we're talking about today is not so much the awards, not so much the end result. It's more of a discussion of how and why they got to where they are today. So more on how they developed the skills they needed to achieve those positions. So just so you know, we know what we're talking about here. So most of the questions, if you chime in with questions about like specific to knighthood or the award of warlord or anything like that, it might not be something we cover, because that's not really the point of this video. That's more towards the video that Gwen's doing of showing the path to actual knighthood. But for this, we're just talking about the developing the skills that got them to where they are today. So I'm going to go and start off with a good question to start with. I think, is who influenced you, and or slash who did you model your game after? So like, if was there like one person or a group of people that really you wanted to be like that person? Cyric, we can start with you.
So that changes constantly. And it really becomes down to how much you travel and where you travel. For the first couple of years, it was a lot of the local people have seen, who was efficient and winning a lot. And then traveling, it was completely different styles, completely different approaches to the field and everything. And I picked up a lot of the main concepts that I went from Leaf was a big influence. Ballast was a huge influence. Spendthrift, Sparhawk, and a couple of the Texas and Colorado Sword Knights. And a lot of my there was a difference between like when I was fighting at home and I was just having fun with it, and then realizing that there's another tier above that, and then there's another tier as you see more and more of these people fight each other and have to change their game, and learning those processes and the way that they analyze a lot of those fights came from a lot of those people and how they approach constantly getting better against them.
Nice. Duke or Kalten, sorry.
Yeah, like Cyric was saying, that changes constantly. I think going back and just looking back, a lot of people I idolized a lot back in the day was Wolfram and Aeromax. Guy was a really good influence on me. But even Cyric and Sho, Dogboy, I find that a lot of the fighters uh, tend to start gravitating towards each other, and they start tending to push each other to do better.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Sho?
So for the first, I want to say, couple years of me playing, I didn't know Amtgard, outside of Shrouding Mist existed. So, I didn't really mimic anybody or go after anybody's certain style. It was more like the video games and stuff like that, or movies, and I would steal from those and find out they don't work. But then Inland Ocean popped up on the radar. Rising Moon popped up on the radar, and then we started asking the questions: what else is out there? And so then traveling started happening, and the first knight I ever met was Sir Derek Roth. For anybody that knows, he's also a sword knight out of Blackspire, and then I stole some of his stuff. I didn't steal his downsword and stuff like that, but it just became anybody who had a trick, I wanted to steal it. So then probably about 4 or 5 years into the game, I met Leaf. Definitely wanted to steal his tech. His ability to close is what I primarily idolized from him. His ability to make people shirk in their spot and kind of lock up. Thor, his two stick is what his aggressive two stick is what I wanted to steal from him. And Guy, he was a big influence on me. One of the later questions is what possibly the what loss did you have? His name will come up on that one, and he is definitely one of those that I had a bunch of losses with. So
Nice.
yeah, those are the primary people besides my friends here on the Knight Circle that are sword knights up here that I respect. I grew with them.
Right.
So.
For sure. How important do you think and again, we're talking about the skill building here to get to where you guys are in your fighting ability. How important do you think travel is? Do you want? I'll start with Duke.
Sure. I think travel is extremely important, especially if you're wanting to grow and be as good as you want to be or good as you can be. Um, reason being is because if you're just not traveling and staying local to your parks, then you're starting to learn all your friends and all the fighters' local styles,
Mm-hmm.
and it's harder to grow from that, and you start to plateau off a lot faster. Where if you travel, you're learning different cultures of fighting, you're learning different techniques, you're learning different styles, and you're accumulating that all uh, on your own, and then you're bringing that back to your home park and or your home kingdom, and that starts changing the culture of fighting in your own area. So I think it's extremely important.
All right. Sho?
I'm gonna agree. Travel is a must. If you want to up your game, you need to travel. Primary reason is if you travel and you go to event A, all you're getting is a snapshot of what the upper tier fighters are currently working on. You go that same event next year, that person's going to have a completely different repertoire because everyone has just mimicked what you've done, and you've got to adjust. So traveling just gives you that snapshot of time that you can bring back and train your land, like Duke said, and then that brings your game of your entire group up. That brings yours up, and it just keeps going. It'll plateau at some point. Travel again. Go steal some more stuff. Bring it back. So it's a must.
Yeah. Cyric?
Yeah, no, 100%. It comes down to a lot of the picking up slightly different things that change things. I personally love it because you can find different regions where like one shot is super effective, and then you go to like a completely different region like a couple months later, and everyone knows the counter to that, and you have to change it again. And like it's like a Rubik's cube. You're constantly shifting the pieces, having to find a different set of tools that work. And when people start blocking consistently across the board, you realize that tool has to completely change again. And you're always evolving your own game, forcing the people around you to change it. And it's a lot of give and take.
Right. So Sho and Kalten both mentioned plateauing and travel as a method of moving beyond that plateau. In that same vein, what other advice do you have for fighters who feel like they're plateauing right now, besides travel? Obviously, right now we can't do anything, but like just imagine we could actually meet in person right now. Cyric, do you want to start?
It's goal setting. It's starting with smaller goals instead of looking at a bigger picture. Because usually when people are plateauing, they're like, "Oh, I haven't made my 8th level Order of the Warrior or whatever." We back it up, step a couple steps back, and look at the smaller goals of, working on this counter or this style of movement or initiating this kind of a fake and seeing how, like, getting people to bite into it and getting more information out of your learning process instead of just looking at the goal. And if you don't take that step back and you just keep looking at that plateau, you're going to get more and more discouraged and less likely to continue trying new things. You just fall into those ruts. So smaller goals that you can measure are really important. If you don't have things that you can see that are happening, even if it's not the big objective, you're again going to feel that rut. So it's all about redefining what your goals are at the time.
Right, just feeling that little bit of progress.
Yep.
Yeah. Kalten?
I like having fun with it. Everyone plays this game for fun, and you just have to go back to the roots of having fun. If you're plateauing, um, like a lot of the times what I'll do is I don't care about winning or losing or anything like that. I just want to go out and I want to have fun, and I want to have fun with the person that I'm fighting with. And if I'm constantly say like I'm constantly winning in that fight, you know, it's not going to be fun for that individual, but I'm also not learning anything or learning as much. So when you're plateauing, you need to start going outside your comfort zone, you know, and trying different things that you're not used to doing, like stepping left or stepping right or dropping your sword just before you swing, you know, just analyzing your fighting style a lot more, especially towards the higher end of things.
To kind of caveat on goals, smart goals. They need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And it's really hard to get your goals set into that. And like Chris said, they need to be kind of more like micro goals. You know, I need to be able to block right hand, left hand. My left hand might be, excuse my language, crud. How do I wake that up? First thing, I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to contact Chris. I'm going to contact Duke. I'm going to contact, Matt in Colorado and be like, what should I do with this? How can I adjust this? Ask for advice. Don't be afraid to step out and be like, hey, what can I do? This is what I want to set as a goal. How do I set it as a goal? There's nothing against asking for help. And that's one of the biggest things coming up that I had is I didn't want to ask for help, which is why I was kind of mimicking everything. And then I got myself put in my place and I started asking. Let's see, what else? I don't know if there's much past that besides, do things that aren't amp guard. Like you need to work on footwork. Go take dance lessons, or just get up and start dancing. Watch some YouTube videos on how to dance. Learn to move. Dancing is a great option, or gymnastics, or Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Things that get you out and active, and work on this.
Yeah.
So that you can identify, this person's body's moving like X. I need to respond with Y. One of the things that I did early on was I held fighter practices out at my parents' property, which was anywhere between 20 and 45 people would show up at my parents' property. And I wouldn't go looking for the deep end of the pool. I would go looking for the people who are just learning, because when they would throw a shot, it's slow and erratic. So then I would take that extra second to put my sword where I needed it to be, and I would block it. And then I would kind of throw a nice slow shot for them to block, and then they would throw again, and I would slowly work on my attunement to slower to faster.
Right. One of my favorite parts about that discussion was the fact that I think our community of fighters, like the really serious fighters, it tends to be seen from the outside as a very adversarial relationship with each other. We're going into tournaments and our goal is to make the others not succeed. So it seems like a very adversarial thing, but what people don't on the outside don't realize is it still is a community where we still communicate, we still talk, I want the best for the other fighters, but on the day when I'm there, I just
Not
want
that day.
yeah. So it's just really cool to hear that in another topic. Kind of you can see that community. Taking it back a little bit, I want to see if you guys can remember this moment for yourself. What was your first tournament win like? Like the first tournament you entered and got that first win. What were you feeling? If you want to start with Duke.
Wow. That was a long time ago.
Because you old.
Yeah. Still can whip you though.
That's true. I'm not even going to say that's wrong.
Let's see. I don't know. I think it would be I was in Iron Mountains when I had my first tournament win. It was just a small land level tournament. It did make me feel good until the higher tier fighters showed up, and showed me, smacked me around a bit, you know. But yeah, I don't know. It was back in the early 90s, I think. So a long time ago.
Nice. Sho?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, same. It's way back. You know, I think you were in diapers, Ormus. No, I'm just kidding.
Probably.
It was at my first tournament win would have definitely been at Shrouding Mist. It probably was against a Wolfpack member. You know, primarily because it was a big fighting company at my land back then. And I actually thought about this one a lot since you posted the list of questions, and all I want to say is it probably felt like the same one as after I got my Warlord. It just there was a breath of all right, now what?
Right.
So yeah, that's probably how I felt when I got my first tournament win. Is I got the taste.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling to remember my first tournament win. I'm guessing it was at IO as well. That's where I spent a lot of my time. But I remember it being enough that I wanted to keep doing it. I remember it being a confidence boost when it was definitely enough of a hook to be like, this felt good. I want to keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are going to be better, I have to do something to be better as well. What's the next step? What do I do next to keep this? Because that was cool.
Right. So there's very few questions that I'm going to answer, but I did want to share this one because it's at the expense of a close friend of mine, which is always nice. My first tournament win that I can remember was against Sir Robin, who was not Sir Robin at the time, but he was definitely he had to have been up there, way up there at the time, and seen as like the next and all that good stuff. And it was in a great weapon bracket. The first thing I remember feeling was confusion, because like they told me I was the winner, and I was like, wait, what? It was honestly I think it was my second day playing, so like I was just massively confused that I killed someone. But it was super cool because Robin came up and he like shook my hand and all that stuff and was super excited for me, and that kind of it laid the groundwork for a strong relationship down the road. But it was definitely kind of a funny situation. But okay, let's see. This is one that always seems to be an issue that's talked about. How, in your opinion, we can start with Cyric. How can you promote a positive but competitive atmosphere on the field? I feel like a lot of times there's always that we feel like we're walking that fine line between trying to be competitive and driving people away. And I was wondering how you felt about that balance and the best way to achieve it.
Yeah, that's a hard one because people process information differently. Like I know when I was younger, I had a natural resting bitch face when I was fighting. Like I know this.
No.
I have totally come to understand this and realize that was one of the biggest detriments at the time. Like honestly, and it really came down to actually what Duke was saying earlier: is have fun with things. When you're having fun with things, the way you carry yourself is differently. The way you interact with people is differently. You bring people into that fun and you have it with them instead of at their expense. And a lot of people think that a lot of the way that warlords and sword knights fight is at the expense of other people, but it's absolutely not. It's a give and take. And if you give into that, and if you're playing and interacting in that way, like it changes everything about how the field is. And that's a big realization I had coming up into the later tier brackets is I stopped focusing on just that have to win and realized there's so much fun that can be had while doing this that it changed all the people that I was fighting with. It changed everything about approaching everything. It was a massive realization. And
Nice.
something I still work at today, to be honest.
Right. Kalten?
I, like Cyric, have a resting bitch face. I'm not very social as an individual. I'm not outgoing. I don't go out and seek to talk to people or make new friends or whatnot. But when the I find it the easiest is when people are ditching, and I just like to go over and I just like to hang out and fight and compliment people as they're fighting when they throw a good shot, um, asking them if they want help, giving them pointers, and just trying to have fun with it and trying to give it some levity,
Right.
because everyone's there to have fun. Everyone's there to uh, enjoy themselves because that's why we play it, because we enjoy it. And uh, yeah, so you got to make it as fun for everybody else as you can for yourself. So,
For myself, in a tournament aspect, I kind of, um, I got my Warlord back in 2004. I step up my game to those that I'm against. If I'm against somebody that is, the first thing that they say when they enter the ring is, oh, oh snap, I'm against so and so. I take a couple seconds. I go, you already lost. Don't do that. Tell yourself, I got this. Don't say, I've already lost. Come in with a better headset. I tell them to breathe. We tap swords. We fight. If it's against the two gentlemen below me, I'm going to smash them. Because we already have each other's respect. We just have to tap swords and beat it out and see who's top dog for the day, right? But afterwards, we shake hands and we're friends again. There's that switch. When it's not a tournament aspect, I try to kind of sneak into groups and just hang out until they're like, "Oh snap, so and so's here." Hey, do you have any input on this? Because I don't want to just jump into a group of people and be like, "You're doing this wrong and you're doing that wrong and you're doing this wrong." No, I want to kind of like not be the center of attention, which is kind of opposite of a warlord, right? They're wanting all the attention coming up, and I just don't want to be the lamplight. I just want to come in and be, Ryan, hanging out with a bunch of guys that are getting ready to ditch battle game, ready for a tournament, whatever. So
Right. That kind of highlights the importance of building a little bit of equity with a person before, offering. Because like to us, it's offering help, but to them, it might seem like pushing help if you haven't built that equity like you're talking about. So that's a really good point. So we've been talking a little bit in the same vein. Like that question is a little bit about culture, so we're going to stick with that culture vein a little bit. What do you think the Pacific Northwest does well as a culture for fighting? So like the positives. If I want to start with Kalten. Yeah, I'm going to give you the easy one.
It's probably the hardest question, honestly.
I know.
Jack.
Yeah, well, we'll just get right to that. What does the Pacific Northwest, as a positive add to fighting? Well, I can tell you this, that the Pacific Northwest has more left-handed fighters in Amtgard than the rest of the country.
Yeah, it's wild.
It is. So if people are wanting to learn how to fight against a lefty or learn how to fight with your left better, there are so many left-handed fighters in the Pacific Northwest. It's ridiculous. So
Right. So it kind of breeds more well-rounded fighters in that area.
yeah, making shots to beat Dog Boy with, of course.
Maybe it's something. Maybe it's the something in the Puget Sound that creates lefties. I'm not sure. Cyric, you want to go next?
So the interesting part to build on that is that all of those lefties fight differently too. They all have different games that they bring, which means you have to be well-rounded against all of them to do well. And when you take that outside of our region, basically any other lefty from out of our region, you have an answer to. You just have to think about it and put the right tools together, but it's there. And then more than that, like, I think with how close our groups are, the fact that you can get 2-3 days of fighting in for a fighter practice as well, you have the ability to learn each park's style and their different things. Like you have the resources to bring a lot of variability out. So like you can, one park like Sharding Mist has a lot of punch style board work with a lot of movement and a lot more of the flowy style from like Rage and Miller and all that kind of stuff versus IO, who is very close in, like they like to grind and play a different game. And all of those things are things that you experience outside of the Northwest. Mm-hmm. So they're all from different regions outside of Northwest. Like one area in Colorado, they're all going to be playing range, or they used to play a lot of range fighting. But down in Texas, they want to be in your face. So you get well-rounded in everything that you're going to look at outside of our region just by traveling our couple of parks in our I-5 corridor. And that prepares you for going out a lot. And then if you do it with the right happy attitude that you get from like that same atmosphere, like you'll do well outside Northwest. And that goes a long ways.
Yep. Right. So, of course, we're all going to caveat off of each other, but travel, the ability to travel prep for out of the Pacific Northwest to go anywhere in the world is probably the best, because we have all the different types of biomes, and different types of ground and whatnot. So, at one park we might be using freaking cleats. On another park we might be using sneakers, Vans or whatever. We have the ability to adjust our footwork if we know where we're going for travel, right? Mm-hmm. So we're less likely to make those missteps when we travel out to. The only thing that we really don't do is go up on the mountain and prepare for freaking 9,000 feet.
Oh yeah.
But that first day hurts.
Yeah, plan was fun.
But I really feel that. Yeah. But I feel that the ability to have proper footwork anywhere we go, if we're training that properly, is one of our benefits up here in the Northwest, because everything we do starts from the ground up.
Right.
So.
All right. So what I think might be, an equally important question is what, we talked about what the Pacific Northwest does well. What does it lack? What do you think could be improved upon in the culture of fighting here?
I personally think that we need to stop looking at the awards. Everybody needs to start having fun first, not, because a lot of the butthurt up here is, well, so-and-so didn't give me this. Well, that's not what you're in it for. You're in it to, be able to beat the all the gentlemen in this, video stream going down south. You're going out to beat those individuals. You're out to beat individuals when you're training this and trying to be, in a mentality of this, you're trying to create a brotherhood. Well, how do you get into that brotherhood? Well, you beat one of us, or you surprise one of us in front of all of us. The awards don't, when it took me a long time to understand that too, is that, the awards don't make the person.
Right.
And that's how I feel about it.
So too much focus on the destination as opposed to the
exactly. They didn't set the goals. They just
right.
looked at the destination going, I should already be there.
Right.
But they didn't check anything off behind them.
Cyric?
So before I go off on a tangent, what was the exact wording on the question?
Oh, well, okay. Well, technically the exact wording was, quote, what does it lack? So, but okay. It was, we were talking about what the Pacific Northwest does, what the Pacific Northwest does well in their fighting culture, and then what does it lack? Yeah.
I think we need to break the cliques.
Oh, yeah.
I think we need to break down the borders of people who are sitting in their groups instead of realizing that we all have everything. Like, we all have stuff to bring to the table and everyone's welcome there. That's the main thing that people just assume, unfortunately.
Right.
I love fighting. Like the base of it, everything about it, from the bottom skill level to the top, there's always something. And the learning process is everything. And if you break those walls down between all these different groups of people, there's so much potential for everyone to grow. And that's everyone gains from that. And I think that's where we need to go next.
Right. Kalten?
Yeah, I definitely agree that getting rid of the clicks is a huge detriment, or would be a huge advantage, but the clicks are a detriment. Um, a prime example of getting rid of the clicks is when the pack opened themselves up to the rest of the kingdom, and the fact that they were welcomed, you know, and the amount of talent that the pack had as a fighting company was being stunted because they didn't open themselves up to the kingdom is a prime example. But they've overcome that. They've accepted, and they're willing to travel, and seeing that is awesome. But there is a lot of people in the Northwest that have been playing for a long time, and they don't travel, and they've gotten into those cliques, and they've gotten into those mindsets that they know better than anybody else because they've been playing for so long. And I think we need to get over that.
Yeah. I think that's a good point for the Northwest in general, even beyond just the fighting culture, is that the cliques are definitely a very real thing that we have to, that's a barrier for us to try and get past. All right, so I'm going to, so we had a question sent to us. It was, who are your favorite people to fight? I'm going to change the question a little bit to make it a little more, so who is your favorite person to fight if you had to pick one all time? And then the second part is going to be, who's your favorite person to fight who's active currently? So I'm going to try and break that one up. From, I'll start with Cyric.
I don't know if you can do that. I don't like that question. There's too many.
Too bad. If you want to give me a top three, I'll take a top three. That's all
All
you're getting.
time will be Leaf. Like hands down, all time will be Leaf. There's just so much depth of knowledge that I gained from that, and like the conversations that we had from it and everything. That was pivotal for me. And then currently active, probably Anatole. Anatole's got such a wide variety of game across multiple different styles. Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm like 50-50 between Anatole or Brett. Both of those have different, unique qualities of fighting that I like a lot.
Nice. Sho?
My first two are exactly the same as Chris's. Leroy was, like I said earlier, he's how I became able to like engage people at distance. How I became better at single sword. I loved fighting him. A couple years back at an SKBC, Anatole and I got to really throw down, and his angles just blew my mind. And it felt like an uphill battle again, and it made me hungry again. And so with that feeding into that, now my third one, it's kind of a hard one, but I would have to say Guy, Sir Guy, from IM, primarily because when I fight him, it feels like I'm fighting a seasoned Muay Thai fighter, and I get put on my ass, and he's not afraid to kind of smash me into the ground. And that's the type of fighter I am. I smash people. So I felt that it was a give and take. So
Nice.
So that's a difficult question for me, mostly because I haven't been doing much traveling in the last 10 years or so.
They can be from the Northern Lights.
So historically, just from my past, I always love fighting Leaf. I have so many great memories fighting Leaf. We both started around the same time at the same park. It was, and yeah, it was
He
good
was there when
times.
you qualified.
Yeah,
He put you. You guys were toe to toe.
yeah. Let's see. I always like fighting Guy. Uh, Guy would always, like Sho would say, would just drill it. And when he found an opening, uh, he would always just get that opening every single time we fought until I learned how to block it. And that was just his style of teaching. And I think I kind of evolved that into my style of teaching as well. But yeah, he was especially toward the latter end of obtaining Warlord and Sword Knight. Guy was a huge influence on that, as well as Thor. Recently, I really like fighting uh, Ormus. I really like fighting you.
I was gonna
I
be
also
so offended if no one mentioned me. Just saying, I'm throwing it out
um,
there.
uh, I love fighting Moses.
Mm,
His body mechanics is really good. But I also really love fighting DeVry and Miller, Maddie, and
Ooh, Maddie.
a lot of the up and comers. I really enjoy fighting them because they're young and they move faster and they move better than I am. But I
They're hungry.
also, yeah,
Cranky old man tactics come out.
um, I really enjoy fighting new people, um, just because they have the unknown. Fighting all Ormus and Moses and everybody, you fought them before, you know how they move, you know how their body works, and you know the shots that they can throw, and you know their limitations. But when you're fighting somebody new, it is like a clean slate and you have no idea what to expect from them. And I really enjoy that.
right, right. All right. Let's go a little bit into the training aspect of what brought you guys to where you are, because obviously it's very rare to get to your guys' level of fighting by just fighting on Saturday afternoons. Like it takes more than that. So let's start with how much did you do things like drills and things like that? So beyond just like sparring, like actual drilling techniques, how often did you do it, and how important do you think it is for the process? Show.
For my process, I think it was a huge thing. I drilled technically 4 days a week because I had a fighter's practice back in the beginning. I didn't use a standard pel. I used trees. I used rebar, half-inch rebar. That was the length of the swords I was using, wrapped with a little bit of electrical tape just so there wasn't any reverb. And I would just slowly practice my shots. It wasn't full speed at all. It was just drilling the muscle memory. Does this work? Does it hurt? Okay, if it hurts, you're doing it wrong. But I would do it. That was Monday through Wednesday and Friday because the fighters practices were on Thursday, and then I went out to AmpGuard and actually put into motion what I'd been pelling all week. And I would go to Shrouding Mist and IO. And so I really feel that, especially in the very, very beginning, that it's really necessary if you want to get up to this level. If you're just going out on Saturday and Sunday, you're not doing yourself any benefit. You're not getting any muscle memory. You're learning the angles of the shots at that point. That's all you're getting out of it.
Gotcha. Cyric?
I I started out not doing any of that, and I thought I was part of that was because I was a punk kid at the time. Totally admit that. I get it. And then I traveled and got stomped into the ground and realized that the people who were doing that were putting in the work behind it. And it made me seek out and find the methods that people were using. And the rogue drilling came up pretty early. I did a fair bit of it, mostly pelling alone though. Like the drilling, if you have a second person, I would value that pretty much above everything else, because you can get, not everything, but most training regimens, you can get direct feedback. You can slow it down. You can fix the technique and mold it as you're working with someone. So having that person who's also working to do the same things is really important. Pelling is immensely important now with how the skills have developed, because a lot of the passive standard stuff that you get from just learning to fight is easily blockable with the basic core principles. Like when you start pelling and getting the proper placement for wraps to break planes and all these things, and you really get the muscle memory down behind it, it changes everything about how you're fighting. And when you stop thinking about that and you can start looking at other aspects of the fight, because you've done that so often that it's just muscle memory, it opens up your game immensely. And then beyond that, I did a couple of other things that were really, jump rope was a huge one. Just getting lighter on your feet, building calf muscles for movement. Oh, fuck that. Fuck. I hated that one so bad. Yeah, that was the rollies, man. I didn't stick with that. I said, fuck it. Sorry,
My forearms hurt just watching him do that.
right. There's a lot of stuff that I tried. Some of it doesn't necessarily work for everyone. Like it really depends on what you're comfortable with and what you'll actually stick to doing. That's the main thing, is you need to find something that you're having a good enough time with to continue doing it so that it's a constant thing.
Kalten?
So I hate pelling and I hate practicing by myself, without a doubt. I find it extremely boring and tedious, and I get more out of it when I'm fighting someone than I do pelling. But a lot of the things that I would do that was away from the park, I do a lot of curls, did a lot of skip jump rope. I did a lot of, I think the only real pelling that I ever really did was tip control. I would aim for a certain spot, like on a chair or a tree, or I would hang a tennis ball on a string off of some PVC, and I would just try and hit with the top 3 inches or 4 inches of my sword on that tennis ball or on that tree, and I would just constantly just try and get that so I could learn my range and I could learn, get better control at the tip of my sword. But other than that, I absolutely despised pelling and practicing by myself, and I pretty much did everything I could to not do it. So.
Nice. We had a question submitted by Noah. It's if you guys know Aoden. He wanted to know. It's sort of in the same vein of we're talking about pelling. And it goes to what Sho was talking about, where he wants to know what your thoughts are on pelling with the heavy rod or heavy stick to build strength, then switching to lighter sticks for ditches, tournaments, and battle games. Kalten, we'll start with you. What's your opinion on that and the benefits and drawbacks?
I like doing that. I think it's a good idea because it teaches you the proper body mechanics and the proper movements, as long as you're doing it, slow and not full speed. Because when you're doing that with a heavier stick, you'll know really quick if you're going to injure yourself. The downside to that is, like, if you're doing it improperly with a heavy stick and then you go and pick up a lighter stick, you're still going to do it improperly, and you're going to injure yourself really quick as well. So
Gotcha.
that's, I don't know, it's a give and take type of deal.
Right. Cyric?
I will disagree. I honestly think you should be practicing with what you're going to use, and because and some of it can be mechanical. I will fully agree that you can definitely feel like you can start with a heavier stick so you can feel the mechanics and feel and make the adjustments. But when you're really building the muscle memory, if you build the muscle memory with a heavier stick and then you pick up something that's really light and you're throwing a shoulder, all of a sudden you're hitting them in the head all the time. Those kind of mechanical issues are now programmed into the muscle. So you have to break that and realign and rebuild the muscle memory for a different weight now.
Right.
I tended to use what I was going to practice with, like what I was going to fight with, just so that I could pick up any of my stuff and it was comfortable all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal preference.
Yeah. And Sho, I know that you had mentioned in the last round that was a fairly prominent training method for you.
Yeah, but the one thing that I didn't note is that, yes, I'm training with heavy equipment, but they're rep based.
Mm.
It's not the entire day I'm pelling 1,000 freaking, shots with a piece of rebar. No, it's 15 here, 15 there. Pick up a sword, because I would set up four spots on the front, 1, 2, 3, 4, one for both shoulder slots and both hips, and then I would put some on the backside of the tree so that I had hip or kidney. So it's rep based. I do believe that putting in some strength training is great, but then also knowing that my equipment is going to come up in weight because I'm becoming stronger. Because one of the things I came up across in my time was tennis elbow. I did a lot of stuff wrong. I trained a lot of stuff wrong, and I had to untrain it. But I would go straight to the lightest thing that I could, and because I didn't have any resistance, I hurt myself. So,
right, that makes sense. All right. Obviously, sparring and stuff is a great way to improve your skills because you're doing the thing that you want to be better at, which obviously is how you get better at something. But what tactics do you guys have or methods you might use to really maximize that? So it's not just sparring, to kind of take it to the next level as far as making it beneficial, if that makes sense. Cyric?
It goes back to the setting small goals. So depending on it, there's a couple factors. It depends on who you're sparring, style, all that kind of stuff, on what you start breaking it down into. So I break things into little bits of if this person I know doesn't bite on body fakes very well, I'm going to play around with finding one that they will. Just the little tiny things that, will they bite on sword movement? Do they bite on steps? Finding these little tiny things to change the situation from what they normally do. And again, it depends on who I'm sparring against. If they're newer, it goes back to they're going to throw a little bit off speed. Some people aren't necessarily throwing with a lot of confidence into their shots. They're not throwing a snap that you can parry into as well or something like that. It all depends on who you're fighting against and finding those little tiny things that you can do to work on, and then looking for ways to measure success into that. So if you can find someone who doesn't like to react to sword movement, and finding a way to push it into an area where they react to, taking that as a bit of success and then building on that. So now that they've reacted to this half circle that you throw, can you now turn that into a second shot and find success and a good percentage off of it, and then go from there?
Nice. Sho?
what was the exact question again?
Sorry, when you're what methods do you use to kind of maximize your sparring sessions or take it beyond, just you fighting another person to really maximize the benefit from those sparring sessions?
Gotcha. I might be really simple in this, but
That's okay.
whomever I'm sparring with, it's kind of a bet. If I hit you with this, you're buying lunch. If you hit me with something, I'm buying lunch. And a lot of those spar sessions would happen at like Shouting Mist. So, of course, I was getting fed a lot. Just kidding. Walking over to McDonald's and grabbing a burger, and then walking back and talking about what we could do better, and then going right back to it. Slating out an hour before battle games or something like that, and just sparring with. I had a gentleman who later on became a very toxic person, but Bishop. He had a really great hand speed. If I could beat his hand speed, he bought me lunch. If I didn't, I bought him lunch. So I mean, literally, it's just being ADHD and coming up, it was a treat. If you do this, you get X, and so it really simplified it and made it so it was fun.
Right. So like the wagers, that increases the stakes a little bit. You can target it towards specific things, and then also you have the camaraderie at the end. So that makes sense.
Yeah, because when you're in that kind of mindset, you're thinking, okay, he's reacting this way. How can I get the angle to get that shot in now?
Right.
So your brain, your combat computer's clicking at full speed the whole time. You're just like, I want to hit this. They know you want to hit that, so their brain's clicking, going, how am I going to block this? What are they going to throw? So
right. It's always fun trying to throw a shot or do something that they know it's coming, and it's coming, or they know, and it's like, okay, how can we still make this work?
exactly.
Yeah. Colton?
I don't know. Being in my later years at Amp Guard, I've been finding that I need to pace myself a lot more.
Mhm.
I don't have the vigor that I used to have. But
You're like a year older than me or something like that. What up?
but no, I don't know. It's all about enjoyment and having fun and setting those small goals. Like, oh, so and so got me with this wrap shot. How can I block that wrap shot this next round? Or what was their leading up to that wrap shot, so that I know it's coming, type of deal. So it's all about small goals, enjoying yourself, and pacing yourself.
Mhm.
Can you remember the shot they hit you with?
Yeah.
That's another thing.
I was told early in my Amp Guard career that the best skill that a person can learn is fight recall, and that's always been a challenge for me. But
It's a big one.
Shadow fighting.
yeah.
Yep.
So when you're Veronica said Ormus throws the over the shoulder shot, and I hate it so much, but I know it's coming.
Shield check him. Shield check him.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you can jam your shield into my shoulder, that's just over my armpit. That shot won't work. So yeah, just beat me up a little bit, it'll work. One thing. So I do want to say one thing that Gwen doesn't give herself credit for is it's not. It might land in the same spot, but it very rarely am I able to throw it the same way. Like I always have to find a new way to set it up because she does learn and she does start blocking it. And I get super annoyed when it doesn't land, so I have to find a new way to do it.
good job, Glenn.
All right. Go ahead and. I know that one of the big things that I can honestly say all three of you is that I've seen and noticed is that your ability to reach out and teach and willingness to go through that kind of stuff. And what if you see an up and coming fighter, or if you think someone might be an up and coming fighter, we'll take it from the perspective of pretty early in their Amp Guard career. What do you look for as like the signs, or like that that girl could be good or that guy could be good? What do you guys tend to look for first? Colton, do you want to start off? I can't remember who I started with last time.
Oh, I don't know. a lot of it is just natural athletic ability that you can see in an individual. And you can tell when someone is out, just out to fight, and they're say ditching just to ditch until the next battle game, and then you can see it in the way that they're playing on whether they really are into the fighting aspect of the game. It's just all about their body language and everything. Um, would I, how would I approach them, or would I approach them? I don't know, man. That's like a social interaction thing that's uncomfortable and shit for me. So I don't know. Um, it all depends on the individual and the relationship that I make with that individual. And if that individual is open to instruction, or uh, if that individual feels that they can learn something from me. So
Yeah.
that's 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 all.
Sho?
Energy in the air. You can tell when someone's really amped. And if you have any sword skill whatsoever, you're gonna notice it. You're gonna gravitate towards that person, because the most out there thing for Amtgard is fighting, and so everyone's gonna see it, and you're gonna notice more people gravitating towards that person, and then the I hate to say it, but the Pacific Northwest is very belt happy, and people start throwing belts at them. Be like, you need to belong. You need to belong. You need to no. So when I see a person like that, I start asking the people around me, how would you beat that person? And that starts getting everyone else's gears going around me, and then eventually that person will come over to me, and I'll be like, how would you beat Chris? How would you beat Duke? How would you beat Ormus? And I had this conversation with Maddie a long time ago. Probably it was when Chris was champion of the kingdom for the first time. When we became kingdom, he was there, and I asked him that question. And now look at him; he's an up and comer. And actually, he's coming. It's not he's up and coming; he's coming. So it's that energy. You can feel it on the field when sticks are swinging. You can feel that energy.
Yeah. For a split second, when you were saying and look at him now, I thought you were still talking about Cyric. Look at him
Well,
now.
Cyric still got some moves. I saw him the other way. But,
Yeah, something.
Good job, Cyric.
Mine's
he's up and
different.
coming.
I look for a little bit different. I look for the people who are thinking about why something happened, or looking at they're looking at how they're going to fix it going forward, and the people who are taking that self-reflection and looking to process with it. But at the same time, I also have a different teaching style, I think, in that my teaching curriculum is very technical in terms of there's a method of how I teach that I'm very conscious of the type of person that I have to teach to. It has to be receptive to that, and I don't go throwing information out for the most part, because I don't want to offend people who are just out having fun. That's a big thing. It's like, I'm not here to try and tell someone how to do anything. Like, I want you guys to have fun more than anything. But if this is how you process information and you're looking to get better, I have some methods that have worked for me, and I'm more than happy to share. I look for the people who have those same kind of methods on their own before I've even never really talked to them about it or anything like that. And then the energy is a really important part. Like, people who just love to fight for just fighting. They don't worry about a bunch of the other stuff. They're just out there having fun and want to take it to the next level and want to learn something new and figure out the next move in the chess game.
Right. Yeah, I personally, when I see like a brand new fighter, I feel like you can see it on their face, for both in the fact that like if you're fighting someone and you just smash them or whatever, and you see they have a big smile on their face, then you know like that's going to be good mentally for their ability to take a loss and keep coming back.
Yep.
And then if you hit them with something like it's not just a chop, like you actually throw like a fake and whatever, and they're walking away, and you can see on their face that the gears are turning. They're trying to figure out what the hell just happened and how
Yep.
it happened. That's another one, like you said, they're processing and trying to figure it out. So like those are all good signs for sure for an up and comer. Or watching where they float in a ditch line. If you see them like, let's say like let's say the three of you are all on one side of the ditch, and you see that person start making their way to that side, great sign. Because that definitely speaks to their mentality, and obviously mentality is a huge part of achieving the levels that you guys have achieved.
Yeah. I remember something that was one. It was Moses, SKBC 2014 in Utah. He gravitated to the deep end, and it was literally hit him with something. He's like, "That's mine," and then you watch him hit someone with it later on down the ditch. It was like, "What?"
Yeah. Hi, Reese.
So, yeah.
Oh, it might be in the headphones. I don't think you could hear it. Never mind. Yeah, no, totally. And that's one thing I've always admired about Moses is he has this way of giving off this vibe that he's just like some simple dude.
Yeah.
But then being hella cerebral, like, and you don't even know, like, but it comes out. But yeah, for sure. So another question that was submitted from DeVry, kind of in the same vein of what we were just talking about. How would you take a newbie to Warlord, provided they had the drive? Yeah, Sho. I was actually.
I wouldn't.
I think I start with you.
What I would do is I would train them up until, if I'm supposed to use the awards as a standardization, I'd get them to the 7th, because they need to have the drive personally and inside them to push for Warlord. Because if they don't, they're going to stall. They're going to get frustrated. But because we're getting up to that right around the 7th Order of the Warrior area, you're building a foundation. You're building their connections. You're building their advisor pool. So if I was to build someone up, I'd work on the foundation and their communication outlets, and let them loose on the world. So
Right.
but I'll always be there, or these gentlemen would always be there. I mean, so build them up to Warlord? No, people build themselves to that level through hard work and determination. We just need to get them out the gates.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Cyric?
Yeah, that's a interesting question. I'm a huge fan of that mechanical core and teaching, the pelling and the drilling basics and building that muscle memory early, and then a lot of fighting, and a lot of traveling.
A lot of losing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, 100%. And that's where a lot of the traveling comes from, is because taking the like I would be more than happy to go down to Texas for a month, stay in the gym, Delos and whatnot, and bring down someone who's really hungry for it, and grinding them through some of the Texas fighters, and then going over to Rising Winds and fighting some of them. And I would love to make that circuit at some point with someone who's really hungry for it, to push myself again and to push them and open the different fields of the different styles of fighting you can see. And then the biggest tool to give someone, I think, is to teach them how to incorporate things from different areas into their own body mechanics and what suits them as a person. So it's really about identifying what they're comfortable doing and finding those bits and pieces from everywhere and helping them understand their toolkit and then building their toolkit and applying it to everyone.
Yep.
A lot of mechanical work though.
I mean, well, we always talk about how mental this journey is. There's definitely tons of mechanical as
Right.
well. Yeah.
Micro adjustments.
Kalten?
You know, I've been trying to think of a way to answer this question, but we can't make anybody a warlord. We can help provide tools and knowledge to become that warlord, or to become as far as the individual wants to go. But it's all up to that individual and how far they want to progress. You know, and all we can do is provide encouragement and direction, and always tell them, you know, go fight that person, go fight that person, go do this, you know. And they need to, like, you know, I said before, is they need to get used to losing, because I can guarantee you that we have lost more tournaments and more fights than we have won, and it still goes on to today. And you know, when we got that, you know, that 21 streak, that was just, we had a really good day that day, and a better day than the other fighters. And then the next, if there's a tournament the following day or the next week after that, it probably wouldn't have turned out the same. So
Yeah.
It's yeah, just encouragement and direction.
Yeah.
And it's all up to their personal drive.
This is going to be a super dorky way to describe it, but I'm going for it anyway. I kind of picture it for me, I'm the one on the journey as opposed to the one, you know, building someone else up. But I saw it kind of as like, if you have like an open world game and there's a waypoint, that's kind of what you're doing, is setting the waypoint, but like they're going to try to take their own path to get there. They might not follow the road. They might try to
Side quest.
You get to get distracted. They might try and just walk over the mountain instead of going around, like that kind of stuff. And that's just kind of how I pictured it with
Parkour.
Just where you're not like giving them a roadmap. You just setting the waypoint and kind of like pushing them in the right direction, letting them make their own choices and get there.
Yeah, I see why I answered that question differently. The question is phrased that they already have the drive. So I'm expecting them to do that already.
Right.
Yeah.
To stick through it. It's the pieces that you add along the way to help them. And I think the resources is the really big one to help with, is who to go talk to about certain things. You know, like in our area, all the lefties, well, this guy keeps hip scooping you. Go talk to him, where to block his shot, and you'll have most everyone else's blocked as well. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you decide to go on that road trip, man, if you can find someone to help Veronica with Leon for a while, let me know. I'll go on that with you. I'll have to try and explain it to my boss that I'm going on a sword fighting tour and see if they don't fire me. But
see, I have a lot of vacations saved up.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it would have been stress testing PVC.
Yeah. So DeVry commented on here. He was the one with that original question. He wanted to clarify a little bit. And sorry for blocking some of your faces. So I think the last question, I asked the last question wrong. How would you take a noob from brand new to a decent fighter? Less so much about the award, like how would you train someone? But I feel like you guys still covered quite a bit of that. And but if you have anything else to add with the wording, feel free to jump in.
I would start sparring with them, and taking it slow.
Yeah.
And then making adjustments as we go. I mean, literally, it's you got to fight. So if I found newbie number one first day, and they're like come running up to me going, hey, I hear your show, blah blah blah, or Cyric or Duke or Kalten or Oramus, whatever. I'm gonna take a little time with them, spar with them, tell them to go fight a couple other people, and then come back and we'll look it over and invite them to come over or something. If a couple weeks down the road, a couple months down the road, invite them over and start doing spar sessions. Tell them to bring somebody because I might want to watch them from the outside while they beat on each other. Just make a nice breakdown of a training regimen for them, so I can see everything that they're throwing.
Yeah. Cyric or Kalten, do you have anything else you'd like to add, or would you like to move on?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. All right. So we're gonna just wow, sorry, my brain just went blank. That's fine. So we're gonna talk about favorite memories a little bit, just because I'm really curious about these ones too. I'm gonna start though with, so a lot of people don't realize how much fighters do enjoy other aspects of the game. Like, we kind of get viewed as like, we care about the fighting and that's it. And well, that might be true with some. I feel like that's not the case with most. Because quote unquote stick jocks. So what is your favorite battle game memory? Kalten, we'll start with you. Like, favorite moment, something that happened in a battle game.
I have one recent one and one from the past that always sticks with me. The recent one was last year, before COVID all happened and everything. I was up at the Hollow up in Everett, and we were playing a point capture game. And I was playing Paladin with a polearm, and I was the only one defending our goal. And Degar came up, and I think he was playing Wizard, and he heated my pole. And instead of like turning and running, I just took a couple steps forward and awed him. And then the point token or the ball or whatever was like right in between us, and I just ran towards him, picked up the ball, and he's trying to run away from me as I'm like running towards him. And he gets up to Moose, and he's like, Moose, I need a release, I need a release. And Moose just completely panicked and didn't know what was going on, and I just ran right by and scored. So
What's your old one?
that's one of my most recent favorite.
Oh,
Hang on.
It was a good one at Arrakis.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, am I lagging out?
Just a little. It looks like you're back now.
Okay. My the one from the past was and I'm on one end of the ditch line, and Leaf is on the opposite end, on the other end of the ditch line on the team, and he keeps running our line, like just demolishing his flank and just killing everybody. And I got to a point where I was just frustrated with it, and so I just like, okay, well, if you're going to keep killing me this way, I'm just going to do it head on, and I'm just going to meet you head on. So then you have to go through me, and then you can kill everybody. And we went a couple rounds, 2 or 3 rounds, and he started talking shit. And he's like, come on, man, you need to do better than this, And I was like, dude, I'm just having fun. But if you want me to turn it up, I'll turn it up. And then he's all, if you haven't turned it up by now, you can't get it up, type of deal. And I was like, okay. And so the Leon was called, and we went at it, and I just one-shot at him, and then I ran the rest of his line. And I came back, and I was like, how's that? Is that all right for you? And he's like, hey, let's go get a drink. I was like, okay, let's go. And that was that. So yeah.
Sho, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I've got an old one and a new one. So my old one I'll start with first. Clan 16. It was my first IK event. And I was in probably the largest ditch I've ever been in my life, like 200 plus people versus 200 plus people. And I was in the middle where I didn't feel comfortable back then. I was always a flanker. And we smash up line to line, except for the person that I went against smashed me. They had a pole arm. Their name was Axgar, and my shield concaved. And then I pushed him back, and he fell down and then I killed him. And as I stepped over him, he's all like, just like Duke there, we're going to go have a drink after this. That was awesome. And then he switched sides, and then we started smashing everybody else. I taped up my shield, and we continued. But that's back in the pound per foot rule. So, it was normal for shields to concave. The newer battle game that I remember was it was right after V8 came out. I was at Spring War. They had a bunch of hazards out there. There was a water hazard that you had to toe to toe to get across, or you could run across on your knees. But I was playing Wizard. I was playing a show toss wizard, and I was just literally running behind people, shoving them across the water. And Royce was playing a dwarf, and I used toss on him or throw, and he's all like, "And I'm going away," and it just all this silly, fun role plays. He goes running across full speed. Florentine and everybody on the other side is like, "What just happened?" And he's just wailing into them, and that was great. It's a great time.
Cyric?
I have a lot of these. A couple that stand out the most. I went down to Emerald Hills when they had Tanglewood Forest still. They had their own site, developed their own site and everything for Banner Wars. The way Banner Wars works is like every company fielded the team. I think it was 18 people on the team. This was still back when Magic was restricted, and you had you can only have X number of spellcasters and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I think it was one of each spellcaster, and then armor, all that kind of stuff. So we had this hybrid team that was Green Dragons when I was still a Green Dragon, and some Justicars, some Rogues, and some Nighthawks. And we basically had like a normal warrior shield wall front line and then 2 flanking parties. And it was myself and Sponge playing Barbarian. And we both started on 1 on each flank. And you had one of the healers and 2 paladins on the side. And we played ping pong, going back and forth across their team, going into the line, dying, fight after death through their line, dying with our healer and paladins getting rezzed and going and doing it again. And we
Red
literally,
Rover.
4 of us, just were all of us going back and forth, wiped out an entire team. That was so satisfying. It was, yes.
Exhausting?
Absolutely. But then the adrenaline just carries you through too, because it's there's so much going on. In this area, I loved the quests that we used to do down in Greenwood Keep. The Greenwood Keep Forest, I think, was one of the best quest fields we've ever had. And there was a period of time where I ran a couple of quests. There was like an old anime quest that we did out there where we had a bunch of people who are long gone, but like Amanda and Fu and Kirk and like all these staple people were just out having an absolute blast. All of the interactions were just so much fun. The Whomping Willow from the Harry Potter quest was ridiculously fun because it was like me, Duke, Sho, Dogboy, a couple of others, and we're all tethered to the tree in the middle of Greenwood Keep. And yeah, there's some really good memories out of that.
Best Kraken ever. No, just kidding.
So I wanted to share a battle game memory that I wasn't actually involved in. I was still really new to the game though, and I saw it happen. and it involved Dogboy and Robin. We were play testing games for 1,000 Stars that was coming up, where Robin and Prometheus were going to be the Warocrats. Cyric, you were there for sure. It was IO also like invaded
Yep.
Maven that day,
Yep.
but there was a battle game they were testing, and Robin was playing a monk, and he goes into Sanctuary. The legality on this is still questionable, but the rules were a little bit different. Then Dogboy picked up Robin's sword, ran out, and just waxed Robin's entire team. And he comes back and he tosses the sword back to Robin's feet and goes, "Your whole team just died to your sword. How do you feel about that?" It was just harassing him and trying to make him feel bad. It was the best. Definitely a different time, but that was it stuck with me. I mean, I think I was only playing for a couple months when that happened. I still think about it. Yeah. So
I mean, there's so many more. I could keep going for hours on this one.
This one's
Without a
open.
doubt, there's so many good memories.
So I know I've taken up a lot of your guys' time, and I appreciate you joining me. I think I want to finish off this video, and I might see about doing a second round if you guys are interested. There are still more questions, and obviously, like, you know, the more interaction we get, the better. So if you guys are interested, you know, we'll do another round. But I just wanted to ask for the fighters out there right now that are pushing, that are, you know, on the quest, on the come up, whatever you want to call it. What would you like to say to them? Like, if you just had one thing to say to those people as a group, like anything you want, just what would you say to them? Cyric, do you want to start?
Fuck.
Yeah, Cyric, you start.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Or I can start with someone else if you'd
It's all
like.
right. The biggest takeaway is find ways to keep it fun. Always find ways to keep it fun. You don't have to be a dick about it. Have fun. Share that fun with people and bring people in for more. And they'll always keep pushing you. You'll keep pushing yourself. Just keep looking for ways to have fun with it.
Nice. That's great advice. I always have to remind myself of that because I get caught up sometimes, you know.
Absolutely, me too.
Yeah. Sho?
What I was telling up and comer, come get some. Kind of a view into the backside of the high end. Everyone in this, plus the other warlords, sword knights in our kingdom, we all talk, and we find out which one of us is coming to this tournament. Who's going to hold the banner up this time, or, you know, can we get multiple of us up there? We're always communicating. That started before any of us even became a warlord. So just know, you're coming for us. No, you're coming for all of us. So
Right.
Good luck.
I like it. Kalten?
Let's see. It's not about the award. It's about the journey. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop with the warlord. And it doesn't, you know, it doesn't stop with an end goal. There is no winning. It's all about enjoyment and personal growth. So.
Nice. Well, again, like I said, thank you guys so much for doing this and you know, taking part in this video. And I'd love to do another one and just keep getting information out there, keep interacting in these weird times where everything's happening behind a webcam. But again, I appreciate you guys' time, and we'll do it again soon.
Awesome.
Thanks for hosting.
Thank you, Trevor.
Yep.
Thank you, you guys.
Not all.